Valentine's Day is coming up, and I just broke up with and blocked all my local situationships because I ain't trying to pay for nothing for Valentine's Day. I'm trying to be in the house with my feet up and live through the one thing that day that a woman could never give me, and that is silence. And I will smile, fart, and regret nothing. But you, viewer, yes you, I see you. You may or may not have a date. Now if you do, good. But if you don't, all I can say is tragic. Tragic! You lonely sucker you. But don't worry, viewer, that's why your old boy Black is here, to brighten up your day with my darkness. You don't want to talk about love anyway. Oh no. As a lonely man or a lonely woman, you probably want to talk about something awesome, like the Roman Empire, or maybe that bad Super Bowl halftime show. Ugh. Or maybe you want to talk about mythology. Oh yeah, and if you don't want to talk about that, then that's too damn bad! Because we're doing it anyway. And since Valentine's Day is coming up, and I've been thinking about mythology, my mind immediately went to Cupid. But little did I know at the time, Cupid's Greek name is Eros. And you know what Cupid does. He shoots the bows and arrows and make people fall in love with each other. You know, blah, 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 blah. Boring stuff. But what I found interesting is not really Cupid, but more or less his parents. In Greek and Roman mythology, the parents of Eros, also known as Cupid, are Aphrodite and Ares, the god of war. Now peep game and lock in, viewers, because just hearing the name Aphrodite makes my brain go, no one cares about Cupid, little naked pervert. I know you, viewer, you're like me. We're the same, except I'm the pretty one. You want to talk about Aphrodite and her assets. But I'll do you one better, viewer, because while thinking of the question for this video, a question crossed my mind that I've been thinking about for a while. Which version of Aphrodite in fiction is the best? There are honestly too many to choose from, and some stand out way more than others. So, leave your opinions down in the comments, and let's begin! Alright, the first version of Aphrodite we have to talk about is the original version, or more or less the ones in folklore. Now, the two versions I'm going to stick with are the Hesiod version and Homer's version. Now, in Hesiod's Theogony, Aphrodite, the ancient Greek goddess of love, beauty, desire, and procreation, was born from the white foam produced by the severed genitals of Uranus after his son Kronos castrated him and drew the body parts into the sea. Hold up, wait a minute, pause. Born from white foam, severed genitals. Kronos castrated Uranus. Oh my god! Okay, first off, Kronos is a G for that, and being born from white foam is crazy, but not really that special, because we all came from white foam. But for the rest of us, the white foam didn't really land into, the same type of sea, if you know what I mean. And I'm so glad Aphrodite's hot, because the man literally lost his balls for this birth. Hear me out, that's a crazy backstory. In order for the world to be able to pop the cherries, Uranus's fruits literally had to be the first one to drop. That's tough. Anyways, from the white foam, Aphrodite rose. And she was apparently born as an adult, which is a pro, but it's still weird. And another pro is, this version of Aphrodite can be described as an irresistible goddess. She came through the thick of it, bad as hell, literally. And she immediately brought desire, whispering, and sweet laughter to mortals and gods alike, and established her role as a deity of love and beauty. And apparently in this version, she's not married to Hephaestus. From what I read in this version, Hephaestus is married to one of the Graces named Aglaia. And Aphrodite in Hesiod's version is described as a primordial deity whose power doesn't necessarily come from Zeus, because in this version, she's older than Zeus and other Olympian gods. Plus, she's seen as more of a universal force. Her whole being represents a fundamental, cosmic, and uncontrollable force of nature, sexual desire, lust, and the drive for creation and union. She is the force of the back shots at night, and this version of Aphrodite is more powerful than the Homer version. And unlike the Homer version, which is a pro, she's never really seen as slutty, but more as a force that drives sluttiness, and she doesn't have a husband, so she never cheats. But now in Homer's version, Aphrodite is going crazy. Now she's married to Hephaestus in this version, and Hephaestus in Greek mythology is the god of fire, volcanoes, blacksmiths, metalworking, artisans, and sculptors. But that don't mean nothing to Aphrodite, because he ugly as hell. She don't want to be married to no ugly duckling. She want a man, or more or less a god of war. And Ares was more than happy to oblige her. He pressed that button all night long. Now the con here obviously is that Aphrodite here is a cheating skank, who cheats on her ugly but good husband with Ares. And to make this clear, the reason this is so bad is one, because Ares is Aphrodite's half-brother in this version, and it's because he's the son of Zeus and Hera, while Aphrodite is the daughter of Zeus and Dione. So yeah, do the math. And also this is bad because Hephaestus was trying to be a good husband towards her. He did not treat her badly, but he was ugly, so she wanted to cheat. And I had two problems with Aphrodite's actions here. And one is, Zeus gave her to Hephaestus to prevent conflict between the gods. Because everybody wanted a piece of that ass. And because Hephaestus was ugly, Zeus felt like he was a safe choice. So it's not really Hephaestus' fault that these two were married. At least not in this version of the story. In another version of the story, Hephaestus trapped his mother Hera on a magical throne to get revenge for his mistreatment, and he only agreed to release her in exchange for marrying Aphrodite. So yeah, if it was that version of him, I would see why Aphrodite really wouldn't want to marry him at all. But if we're talking about the first version that I mentioned, where he received her as a gift to soothe a conflict, then I have to say that she's a scumbag and very stupid. Because ugly or not, Hephaestus is the god of blacksmithing. His blacksmithing is so good, he made a magical girdle for Aphrodite as a gift. And this girdle had the ability to make the wearer irresistible and alluring. And it possesses the power to inspire intense desire, passion, and love in both mortals and immortals. This item was so powerful, it worked on Zeus. So Ares may have had the looks and the charm, but Hephaestus with his skills literally could have made the ultimate vibrator. Could have had that girl shaking every night. But no, she chose looks over quality. Con, stupid bitch! And she also had multiple other lovers besides Ares. So it sounds like to me, Homer's version of her is just an Olympian bop. She ain't loyal, and her cons don't end there. Because in the Homeric hymn to Aphrodite, which is an ancient Greek poem from the 7th or 6th century, Zeus wanted to curb her powers over the gods. So he punishes Aphrodite by making her fall in love with a mortal named Anchises. Zeus wanted her to experience the same sweet desire she inflicts on others. So basically this means she's subject to her own powers, unlike our Hesiod version. And now that these two versions are out of the way, moving on! The next Aphrodite version is one of my favorites, and it's the pink version from the Disney's Hercules movie. Now you would think this version wouldn't be a salute, but in this movie, and apparently in the TV show Hercules the Animated Series, Hephaestus is her fiance. But Phil the goat is oh my god, is about to get snatched up. God damn! I thought this was a kids movie. Hold up, let me check the rating real quick.
A few moments later.
My brothers, the movie was rated G. That means it's for all ages. But I ain't ever seen a woman with suction like this in a rated R movie. Hold up, Heather, play that thing back. Slow motion. Bruh, the suction of those lips are literally so powerful, she was able to hold back a Pegasus for at least 3 seconds. Plus, Phil is short and just an animated Dan DeVito. Have y'all seen Dan DeVito? Ew! All pros. First pro was the suction of those lips go crazy. And second one is she likes short men. And the third pro is if she'll sleep with Dan DeVito, she'll sleep with anybody. May I remind you though that this woman has a fiance. And this is a Disney movie. Like goddamn Disney. No wonder she was only in the movie for only a couple seconds. That rated G was about to turn into a rated MA real quick. But she does have one con, and you're all gonna agree with me on this one. It should have been me, not him! It's not fair! But now luckily for us, there are multiple times in Hercules the Animated Series where she shows up, helping Hercules with love. And in this series, you get to see more of her powers and her personality. Now some of her core powers are obviously immortality, control over love and beauty, and some of her other powers are teleportation and lutomkinesis, which is the ability to mentally or magically create, shape, or manipulate clay and ceramic materials. It's basically earth manipulation, and with this power she can mold, harden, or summon clay structures like golems, weapons, armor, and even waifus for young horny teenagers. Pro. 10 out of 10 pro. What can this woman not do? Stop cheating? Shut up, Knight, this is my show today. Whatever. Don't listen to him, viewers. Hephaestus can't handle all that anyway. At least not this version of Hephaestus. Anyways, her other powers are transmutation, which is the action of changing or the state of being changed into another form, and her other abilities are just standard powers and abilities of a god. And as far as the looks, Aphrodite in this universe is without a doubt the prettiest, loveliest, fairest, and utmost exceptionally beautiful and drop-dead gorgeous deity in the universe. Plus, she has a twin sister named Cytherea. Oh yeah, this one's my #1 choice. If you haven't watched Disney's Hercules, you need to watch it. In fact, let me watch this scene again. Damn, she got them Toon Force lips. Alright, the next one up is the Aphrodite from Hades 1 and 2. And my first impression of this one was honestly like, good grief, he's naked! Now I think she's wearing some armor on her legs, but you know what, that doesn't even matter. Either way, it's a pro. Now a con is, in the codex entry of this game, she's described as being the most deadliest above all the Olympians. And this is obviously because of her power to make people fall in love. And another con is, in this universe, she is married to Hephaestus, but they do seem to have an open relationship that Hephaestus is okay with, which means he's basically her cuck. And she basically openly flirts with everyone. She's the Olympian bop in this universe, and she knows it. And she wants everybody else to know it too. And I mean, for crying out loud, she's the only goddess in this universe who's fully naked, which I'm not complaining about at all. Let the glutes shine, I don't care. Now, Ares is also her lover in this universe, but it doesn't really matter as much in this universe because, you know, Hephaestus is a cuck. And just to make this completely clear, their relationship in this game is completely open. They're non-monogamous, which means she's probably getting freaky with everybody. Which I have to say is a con. Being a sleut is not good. There's one thing to be sexy, but it kind of ruins it when you sleep with every single person you see. At least the Disney version only met with Phil once. Other than that, the Disney version seems to have more of a filter on her sexuality, but it is Aphrodite, so whatever. Anyway, another one of Aphrodite's cons in Hades is that she's hypocritical. She firmly believes in the power of love and will do everything to ensure that it is given and received in its purest form. But, and this is the hypocritical part, she'll believe this while still openly cheating on her husband. Even if the husband says it's okay, if you truly believe in true love, then you wouldn't make your husband sit in the corner and watch as you get the back shots. That's not love, that's lust. It's hypocritical to say you're the goddess of love and inspire love in others, but cheat on the one that you're supposed to be loving. It makes no sense, even if he's okay with it. I mean, seriously, either get divorced and be a sleut, or be faithful to your husband. There's nothing in Aphrodite's lore that says she has to be a sleut. Even if she does have desires, it's still her choice who she sleeps with. Anyways, her personality is described as being venomous, mischievous, and prone to making lethal comments. She's also described as being very sweet and accessible, and we all know how accessible she is. And she also possesses a loving and protective nature, which is overall a pro. She's not a bad person, but she is a character with flaws. Oh, and Ares is her brother-in-law in this universe too. So, yeah. Moving on, the next one we gotta talk about is the Aphrodite from God of War 1 and God of War 3. Now, they're the same goddess, but in God of War 3, when you see Aphrodite, she's getting, freaky in her bedchambers. This version of her seems rather carefree and promiscuous, and the only thing she really seems to care about is making love with anyone, which I would say is a con considering the fact that Kratos is going around killing all the Olympian gods, except for a few, but she does not care. She's like, since Ares is dead, your character Kratos will make a good replacement, and then begins the famous button scene. Yes! I press that button all day long. I ain't gonna lie, but this is kind of messed up considering the fact that Kratos does eventually kill Hephaestus, very violently I might add. Now to contradict this, in God of War 1, you don't really see her, but she does show a projection of her face and voice to Kratos, and she looks very different from her God of War 3 counterpart, and she acts a little different too. Apparently, this Aphrodite has a more noble side, but just remember, these two are the same goddess, but just her acting differently. In God of War 1, Aphrodite appears to Kratos in the city of Athens, presenting one of the tasks that Kratos must pass, which is killing Medusa. Specifically, she wants Kratos to cut off her head and use Medusa's gaze as a weapon, which she accomplishes. So either way, Aphrodite in this universe has two sides, one noble and one that doesn't want to leave the bedroom. So one pro is that she's a super freak, but one con is that she's a little bit too much of a super freak. And obviously another pro is her main hobby is making love. But now when we get into her powers, that's when things get even more interesting. One of her abilities that is a con is called ammokinesis, and it's a supernatural ability to manipulate, control, and influence emotions of love, lust, and affection. And as a form of emotional manipulation, it allows the user to intensify, weaken, or redirect romantic feelings in others. Now, other Aphrodites on this list may have this power, so that's not really the problem here. The problem here is that this power even works on Kratos, and I read specifically that Kratos was compelled by her beauty to the point where he would not attack her. Now, this is a crazy feat, because remember, Kratos isn't having mercy on her just because she's a woman. He's killed women before in this series with no hesitation, and this is the same Kratos that did stuff like this to the other gods. So yeah, if she can make him forget that kind of rage, and even get him to sleep with her, and get him to let her live, then this power is low-key scary. Now her other powers are shapeshifting, which we don't really see her do much, but she does look different in God of War 3 in comparison to her God of War 1 form. And she has astral projection, beauty inducement, which means she can also cause others to become beautiful, which is a pro. Plus, she also has power bestowal, which is a pro, and telepathy. All in all, this one's not a bad choice. Both of her forms are bad as hell, but I think this version of Aphrodite is a bigger sleut than even her folklore form. I mean, seriously, all the Olympian gods are being killed by one bald guy. Your husband and your lover Ares was killed by that same bald guy, and instead of feeling sad, you sleep with that bald guy that killed your husband and your lover. Bruh, that's tough. Alright, the last Aphrodite we have to talk about is the one from the anime Record of Ragnarok. You know the one I'm talking about, the one who started this meme. I gotta be honest, this is one of the main reasons why the anime Record of Ragnarok is famous to begin with. And yes, I know the manga is pretty good, but Netflix in season 1 was butchering those animations. Until it came to Aphrodite, and then all of a sudden the animation went from debate levels to fate levels, if you know what I mean. The woman's gargantuan boulders have more movement in their bad boys than any fight scene. And since we're already talking about her huge, massive personality, I have to mention that her golem-like servants are used to carry them bad boys, lucky bastards, and as a chair. It should have been me! Best job in the world right here. I bet they take no breaks. Now, besides her massive tickle biggies being a massive pro, Another pro is she's 4,000 plus years old, meaning she's a super gilf. Yeah! She's also specifically the Greek goddess of love, beauty, lust, pleasure, passion, and procreation. And her overall figure is extremely voluptuous, and her tickle biggies aren't her only good assets. She got it all. But what about her personality and powers? Well, her personality is where she starts to fall short. Her personality is described as lustful, and she loves witnessing attractive men with strong bodies. So in other words, she like the gym bros. Oh yeah, don't hate. Now she also has bad aspects about her personality too, like the fact that she has an arrogantly superior and disdainful attitude. And to top it all off, her biggest con is that she's a misanthrope, which means she's a person who dislikes humankind and avoids human society. Now, this side of her is seen more in the manga than in the anime. One example of this in the manga is when the Buddha decided to join the humans. When this happened in the manga, she reacted with intense fury, but in the anime, she appeared impressed, intrigued, and even entertained by his defiance. So the manga version of her is a little bit more, and the anime version in comparison to her manga version is more like,
is that a boy I smell? Yes, I smell it. Boy smell.
Yeah, I told no lies. So you're probably wondering why she hates humans in the first place. Well, despite her domain over love and procreation, she has been displeased with humanity's environmental pollution, culling of animals, and propensity for conflict over the years. And it's because of these things specifically that she's been voting for the humans' destruction in the meeting between gods that's held once in a millennium and chaired by Zeus, called the Gods' Council. It's in this meeting the gods come together in this universe to decide humanity's fate. And no, just to be clear, she is not on our side, which is a con, but she is very horny, which is a alright, that's so awesome! Now, as far as her powers, they're really no different than any other Aphrodite that I mentioned, but she does have one ability that crossed my eye, and it's called Divine Physiology. And this means Aphrodite possesses physical abilities far greater than any ordinary human. Her body cannot be harmed by mortal weapons, however, she can still be harmed by unarmed attacks from individuals with superhuman strength and divine weapons. So basically, if you don't have superhuman strength or a divine weapon, you can't harm this one at all, which is actually a pretty impressive power. You actually have to put in a lot of work to kill this one, which makes it a pro in my book. Now, viewers, I know there are a lot more versions of Aphrodite out there, but the only reason I'm not going to talk about them is because they don't really stand out compared to these ones that I've chosen. Remember, this video is about choosing the best version of Aphrodite, and some of these other ones just don't compare to the ones I've chosen's assets. And while we're on the topic, my favorite one on this list is the Disney Aphrodite, and the one from Ragnarok is in second place for me. Now, I know you probably thought I would choose the one with huge boobs, but, and I must quote the great cat who said this line, that great cat being me, big old tickle biggies are great, but some good head on a woman's shoulders goes a long way. And this one's head powers are over 9,000. She about to bend reality just to keep going. Look, it's not always about the body. Big tickle biggies or small ones. Either one is fine. But great head is legendary and cannot simply be replaced that easily. So, let me know what you think in the comments, and tell me which Aphrodite you think is the best Aphrodite. And you guys have a good Valentine's Day. Bye!